Hello, everybody. My name is Rachel. Most of you guys know me, but for those of you who don't, I'm the program manager of the Clean River team at the San Diego River Park Foundation. And this is going to be the Blitz leader training video that I'm going to be sending out to all of our River Blitz leaders for 2025. So, first of all, thank you so much for volunteering your time to help us lead a group of first-time volunteers in the riverbed for River Blitz. So, I'm gonna go over what River Blitz is if you are unfamiliar, what the responsibilities and roles of our leaders. And then we're just going to go over a quick, brief Mapler refresher for those of you that maybe have not used it in a while, or maybe you have and you want to stick around for the refresher. It's just important to remember some of the data protocols that we have. So thank you so much for joining. I'm going to try to keep this quick, but this is the River Blitz training. So let me get going. Okay, it's loading. Okay, River Blitz training. So this is consistency in data and helping first-time volunteers collect data in the San Diego riverbed. So what is our River Blitz event? It's basically an elevated raft survey. Most of you, if you are leading this event, should know what a raft survey is. Um, every October, our team looks to update the entire Mapler data set in just 2 weekends. Why do we do this? Well, October is the beginning of the hydrological wet year. So that means like basically the rainy season is starting in October. So from October to 2025 to October 2026 will be one wet year. So our goal is to update the entire trash map before the rainy season begins. While it might be the hydrological wet year start in San Diego, we know that that's not probably won't happen until December. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. But technically, it's the start of the wet year in October. So this gives us a one time of the year snapshot of completely accurate data in the riverbed. So basically, at the end of the 2 week time, our Mapler data is going to be as accurate as it's ever going to be. We have like a clean snapshot of the riverbed, of exactly all of the locations of trash as recent as only 2 weeks ago. So very accurate data. Before, Mapler was used at the River Park Foundation, and it hasn't been around forever. River Blitz, the event in October, was the only time trash data was being collected for the entire organization. It just happened once a year. They used physical paper maps to record trash data, and they used that to inform the cleanup program for the entire year. So now we have Mapler, and we get to update that data twice a week, as you guys know, but we don't get to update the entire map. So this is why we continue to do the River Blitz event, even though we now have the raft team and the Mapler application. So, River Blitz teams, it's October 18th and 19th. That'll be the entire city of San Diego that we're going to be covering. That's our kind of our more robust weekend, especially the 18th. We're going to be covering a lot of areas in Mission Valley that day. And then October, oops, typo there, 25th and 26th, not the 16th. That'll be in Santee. So each River Blitz team will consist of at least one staff member or volunteer leader and multiple first-time volunteers, people who have never used Mapler before. So, your role as leaders of these first-time volunteers is going to be safety. Obviously, that's going to be your number one priority. You want to make sure your group is staying together and navigating the terrain well and avoiding hazards such as deep crossings where you might fall into the riverbed, difficult to access vegetation, bees, wasps, poison oak, all of those things. So it's kind of your responsibility to know the area that you guys are going to be surveying for today and be aware of the hazards. And then, yeah, making sure your group is staying together for sure. I know sometimes when we have first-time volunteers out at these events, not everybody likes to work at the same pace we do. So just making sure that, like, if you're trudging along on a path and you're walking super fast, they just are checking behind you, make sure that your group is staying together and nobody is lagging behind, and so nobody gets lost. You're also going to be the timekeeper. So River Blitz is 9 to noon. It is a volunteer event. We want to make sure that the volunteers are only working through hours and they get back kind of to their cars around noon. A little bit after it might be okay, but in general, we want to be on time. So it's your job to kind of keep watch on the clock. And if you only covered half the segment and it's 11:15, you just gonna keep that in mind that you might not finish the entire thing and you're gonna need to turn around. Your other role as a leader is to be the riverbed expert. Our raft volunteers and interns, you know the riverbed the best. Chat with your volunteers about us, the River Park Foundation, the riverbed itself, the surrounding areas. vegetation, plants, animals, the history of the area, things like that, that we kind of like to teach you during raft, kind of nonchalantly during our raft surveys. All that information, those tidbits that we give you during the surveys, hopefully you've taken them and stored some of them and committed them to memory, and maybe you can regurgitate some of that stuff, like the information we give you about invasive plants and Brazilian pepper trees and all that stuff. Be the expert of the riverbed. And just reassure your volunteers sometimes when we're going through the riverbed, it can look kind of scary in some locations to people that have never been there before. But I always like to joke that, like, even if it looks like I don't know where I'm going, you guys, I swear that I do. I will not get us lost. Your role as a leader is also to delegate Mapler tasks and to be the data expert. So don't do all of the work yourself. This event is meant to be like a community science type of event where people are kind of coming from all different members of the community are coming to contribute to our Mapler database, to learn how to do field work, to collect community science data, to help our cleanup program, so on and so forth. So all of them will receive a Mapler training, and you guys will also get some information on how to teach them how to use Mapler, but just don't do all the work yourself. Give everybody a task to make sure that it's kind of worth their while they're out there. And obviously, your role as a leader is to have fun. Trash surveys are not everybody's cup of tea sometimes, so it's your job to keep volunteers engaged and interested. Get to know your group, tell them why the riverbed surveys are so vital to the health of the riverbed. I always like to ask people how they heard about us, why they're interested in doing community science, things like that. So we're going to quickly go over some Mapler data collection protocols and reminders. Some of this stuff might be updated from the last time some of you guys may have used Mapler or any of the data collection stuff. We've tweaked a few protocols, not that many, but just a couple good reminders. So as a reminder, encampment trash is, one of our more complicated categories that we add to our trash map, and it's associated with an active encampment or appears to be active. So, which may be evaluated by presence of a person experiencing homelessness or presence of items like folded clothes, bedrolls, cooking items, unopened food, stored belongings, generally bikes, working bikes, things like that. A very clean-ish area that has been tidy, not a lot of leaf litter. Things are zipped up nice and tight. Food has been cooked in the last 24 hours, things like that. Um, Active homeless encampment in the riverbed are coded as encampment trash pins to protect the people living in the riverbed, since Mapler is, as a web browser, is publicly accessible. So this is also information that you kind of should be like regurgitating to your volunteers in your group, so they kind of understand the nuance of this pin. Um, so encampment pins on our map can either mean one tent or a cluster of tents belongings within a 25-meter diameter. We have a strong stance on never cleaning up anything that we think may belong to someone. Encampment trash pins were originally designed to ensure people's belongings were protected during those river rescue cleanup events. Now that we have such a robust data set of people experiencing homelessness in the river, many of you guys know we now use this data for advocacy, transparency, and homeless outreach, and just a lot more. The difference between encampment trash pins, if you've ever led a homeless census event versus a raft event, is if you led a homeless census event, we'd mark something as active if we are 100% sure that there is somebody sleeping in that area or they slept there the night before. For raft, for the purpose of Mapler, active can mean this is somebody's stuff. They might not have slept here last night, maybe even the night before, but this is somebody's camp that they are still clearly using. We do not want to clean it up at a river rescue event. So sometimes active trash can include an area of staged belongings, like bikes and luggage and things that you believe belong to someone and should not be taken at a cleanup event. And again, a reminder, Mapler pins are active encampment pins are called encampment trash, just to further protect the integrity of the people living at this area. We don't want to put active encampment on a publicly accessible website to just protect the people that are living there. All encampment trash pins are password protected, so you must use a login given to you by the River Park Foundation to access any of this data, which is why we tell you not to create your own Mapler login. It will not populate any of our data. Oop. So this is what a Mapler encampment pin looks like when you are logged in, when you have a password on the browser, right? We can see the photos, we can see the comments, we can see some more information. If you are not logged in, this is the only information you can get. It's encampment trash, 3 bags of trash, and the name and the general location. No photos are accessible to you, and no comments are accessible to you if you are not logged in. No other trash category pin on Mapler is password protected, so it's important to note when making encampment trash pins, they may eventually be changed to an inactive encampment, or it could flood and they are changed to stormwater debris or dumping. We do this all of the time during raft, right? But the second we change that category, that pin's no longer password protected. So you still need to be really careful about the information that you are putting in encampment trash pins, because while they may be protected at that moment, that information could become public. So we still, of course, don't want to take photos with people in them. We don't want to put identifying information in the comments of people living at that site, anything of that nature. Um, when you are in the field, approaching an active encampment, right? This is something that we all have to keep in mind. Um, you will be the staff leader or the volunteer leader to call out to see if somebody is home. Um, if someone is there, no photos, right? We never take photos of people in them. That includes us. If dogs are present, be very cautious. We find a lot of unleashed dogs in the riverbed, and why we want to believe all dogs are friendly because we love animals. Sometimes that's just not the case. It's okay if you see an unleashed dog to just not risk it and turn around and walk away. Unless you are familiar with the dog, you've been in the area before, you know the dog is friendly, then that's okay. But if you're feeling any sort of, you know, way about an unleashed dog or a hazard that you're not comfortable with, it's okay to just turn around and walk away. Make a note of what you could see and then create the pin a little bit further down the path. If people are home or people are not answering you, but you are pretty sure somebody is in the tent, be far enough away from the site when you log it and, keep moving. We don't want to be obvious about recording people's trash, and we don't want to have a discussion about their encampments while they are in their tents. It's just not very respectful. We want to do this in the most respectful way that we can. Safety is our first priority. Don't feel like you need to proceed if a situation feels unsafe. The data is important, but it's not that important. You guys, your safety is more important than collecting the data. So an inactive encampment is trash associated with an area that appears to be formerly inhabited but abandoned at the time of the survey, which may be evaluated by absence of items of value when things are muddy or buried in leaf litter and clearly abandoned. This doesn't mean that nobody is present at the time of the survey, and an inactive encampment indicates it's no longer being used by somebody camping there. So normally it will include a lot of the items we see at active encampments, but like with the absence of a tent, or the tent has collapsed, or the tent is covered in leaf litter, a sleeping bag mattress is all gone. Or if you're using Mapler, the pin from the last time you were there when you weren't sure if it was inactive, but you took a photo. If it looks exactly the same, most of the materials have not moved. The tent is open the exact same amount. The zipper is the same way up as it was in the last photo. Nothing has moved. You're going to kind of assume that nobody has been there. Generally, especially this time of year when we have a lot of like leaf litter and things falling, it can be pretty obvious to tell when something is inactive because there's just leaf litter everywhere, and nothing has been kind of cleaned or moved around at all. Stormwater debris is trash that was carried to its current location by the water. So it does not include a shopping cart that was dumped in the water and looks like somebody just threw it over the riverbed and it's just sitting in that spot. That is a dumping pin. Stormwater debris means that shopping cart moved from one area to the other because of the water. This includes what may have been previously categorized as an encampment, but washed to its current location. So sleeping bags, tents, clothes, stuff stuck in reeds or debris. We as an organization estimate that about 25% of stormwater debris was originally part of an encampment. Then we have litter, which is trash accumulation, usually near high traffic areas such as food-related trash and other everyday items over time. And then we have our dumping, which is trash that's usually large, often items discarded to avoid dumping fees or proper disposal, couches, appliances, tires, shopping carts, things like that. We also believe that about 50% of dumping pins can be attributed to an active encampment or somebody experiencing homelessness. So this is always a big thing and something that you guys were going to want to remember when you're out in the field leading your River Blitz group, the difference between a dumping pin and a litter pin, right? Dumping. All of the trash at that site originated at the same time from one source. It all got there at the same time. That is a bunch of trash that was just dumped and left. Litter is a bunch of trash that originated from multiple sources over a period of time. So why we say like under bridges, by freeways, things like that, people are throwing things out of their car. One cup thrown out of their car is not enough to create a Mappler pin. Obviously, we do that 35 pounds or more, is enough to create a site. Um, but if enough people are throwing their trash out of their car onto the freeway or underneath a bridge, that's going to be enough to create a Mappler pin. So dumping, one source, same time. Litter, multiple sources over time. Those are the differences between these two pins. Special removal needed is trash that might require removal by special tools, such as tractor tires, large concrete vehicles, dumpsters, and those things. Depending on the size, some of these might be suitable for us to remove, or some of them might be suitable for the landowner to remove. Our other pin is our non-removables, right? I don't want to concern a lot of our first-time volunteers with non-removables during River Blitz. It's just not relevant to kind of what we're doing and what we're learning. I don't want you guys to be confirming non-removables during River Blitz. I want to stick to removable trash for this event in particular. So non-removables we assume are always going to be there. They don't contribute to our trash total data. So just focus on our regular 6 categories and not non-removable pins during our River Blitz event. So some reminders about Mappler comments. Do include in your comments any information changed about the site. It has to be referenced in the comments. We changed the bag count from 1 to 2, not we changed the bag count to 2 or to 1. What did we change it from? Category change from encampment trash to an inactive encampment. Any identifying information about the pin so it's easy to find again. Graffiti, bridges, light posts, power lines, burned trees, all those types of things around the site that can help us easily identify it again. Date at the end of every new entry, as always. Do not include detailed information about trash itself unless we think that it will be relevant to find it again. Any identifying information about somebody experiencing homelessness, any subjective information, i.e. this is a messy camp. Nope. Non-cardinal directions. Do not use terms like left, right, up, or down. So it's not left of the willow tree, right? It's north of the willow tree. Those are subjective as well. Cardinal directions are the only things that we use. And then never reference a Mappler pin in the comments. Pins change and disappear all the time. So if you're using another pin as a source of direction to find the site that you are creating, that site could disappear and now you have no reference point anymore. So tips for good photos. I know that you guys all know this, but we're just going to go over it again. Take a step back, include more surroundings than just the trash. Turn around, where did you come from? Is it easy to access or difficult to access point? Include any unique landmarks which are visible from the site. Again, power lines, graffiti, bridges, trolley tracks, things like that. Use your finger to indicate the direction of the site. Ask yourself, if this trash was gone, what would identify this location? Again, we never include people in any site photos, including people experiencing homelessness or our staff and volunteers. Let's protect everybody's privacy. Remember, all of this data can be public. These photos are not helpful. I don't know how we would ever find something like this again if the comments aren't helpful and we're only using photos. That could be pretty difficult. Good photo examples, landmarks, vegetation, how to access site from the trail, right? This log and this tree is very, very helpful. Again, big trees, trolley tracks. You can see the trolley station right here in the back. Very, very helpful. Trees that look different, are weird, cut up, things like that. Again, very helpful. Multiple photos are not always necessary when creating a site if the site's right on the path, in an open space and easy to find. So notes about other data protocols. These are just some reminders again. Titles, book title, capitalization, short, and identifiable. Something that sticks out about a site. We are trying to stray away from using the exact same names for multiple sites. So if you can avoid using blue tent, black tarp, green tent, green tarp, all of our normal shopping cart, all of our normal site names, if you could try to be a little bit more creative so we just have a little bit of just a variety of names. we were going through some of the data. We have like 15 sites that are called green tent. And we have like 10 sites called black tarp. So if we could try to find something a little bit more identifiable, I know sometimes if we're not approaching like an encampment super closely, it can be difficult to pick something out about that site that stands out. But try to do your best to kind of be a little bit creative. And then, but just keep the titles short and sweet as well. Again, comments are directions to the sites and landmarks, not a description of the trash. Um, and then map blur glitches sometimes, so just make sure the GPS location seems correct when you are adding the site to the map. We will go back in QA/QC, which means we will do quality analysis and quality control on all of the Mapler pins added during Blitz every day. But we want to avoid having to text you guys after the event is over to have to clarify on some sites. So if we can do our best to make sure the location is accurate, the photos are accurate, and the title is correct, and the comments are accurate while we are in the field. Because again, I don't want my staff or me having to text you at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday and be like, "Hey, I'm looking at the photos from this site and it doesn't match up with the location. Did you guys add this in the wrong spot or did Mapler glitch?" So we just want to try to avoid bothering you guys after the event is over for information. So when we're updating existing sites, we just want to make sure that we are updating the comments with site still present or site no longer present. Photos, add photos if the photos are not accurate anymore, the vegetation has completely changed, the trash has moved at all, anything like that. Update the bag count if you need to, change the category if you need to, and always end with today's date. So what we will provide, the San Diego River Park will provide for you for this event is leader backpacks with first aid kits, sunscreen and bug spray, battery packs to charge phones. Depending on what kind of phone you have, sometimes Mapler can deplete your battery really fast. We have battery packs. We don't have phone chargers though. We have a few. So I will let volunteers know to bring phone chargers, or if you have a phone charger that can fit into a battery pack with like a USB. Um, to use to bring that, and we will provide you guys with the battery packs. We will also provide you with some care kits to give out to people living in encampments if you do encounter them. The point of River Blitz really is not to do a whole bunch of chatting with people in encampments, but as we know, it does happen. It can be necessary in order to access other areas of the riverbed. So we will provide care kits for you guys to give out if you do encounter people in the riverbed, which is probably pretty highly likely that it's going to happen. We will also provide each team with Mapler instructions on how to um, add sites and use Mapler on a clipboard. We'll print those out for you. All the volunteers will be sent the Mapler training. Not all of them complete it. Some of them do. Some of them will be very prepared, and some of them will not be prepared at all. So we will also give you a clipboard so people can look really quickly on how to add a site. We will also provide every group with a temporary Mapler password that we will change after River Blitz is over. Our regular interns and volunteers can have access to Mapler whenever they want. Our one-time volunteers who aren't super trained on how we use our data, how we add our data, update our data, except for this one time, we're going to revoke their Mapler privileges after the event is over. So we'll want you guys to log in to that Mapler username that we give you because each one will give us the idea of who are adding sites to which area. And we will give you a segment map so you know which area you are supposed to be covering. Please bring, we will not provide water layers as well. It might be cold in the morning and warm in the afternoon. And your best Mapler skills, and I should put in there a good attitude. Um, so we really, really appreciate you guys volunteering your time to be leaders for River Blitz. Um, it's hard to recruit for this event. Sometimes mapping trash, again, it's not very fun for people. So I'm going to really rely on you guys to engage our first time volunteers, teach them about Mapler, teach them about the River Park Foundation and why you come out with us, and why the data is important. And if you can convince one or two people to maybe volunteer for the raft team or come out and do another event, that's a win-win situation. So again, I will be sending out our segments very, very soon. Hopefully you will get that email with the link to this training. If you did not, please let me know. Um, and if you have any availability to lead any more days, please let me know. Sundays are always really hard days to recruit leaders for because it's a Sunday and I get it. Um, but if you have any questions, regarding River Blitz, the event, need another Mapler refresher or anything like that, please let me know. Send me an email. I'd be happy to go through a more in-depth training with anybody who needs that before they are going to come out and lead our event for us. So, thank you guys so much. Yeah, have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you guys all very, very soon. Yeah, thank you.